Well, you got to be pretty stoked. I mean, you've done a few of these, a good number of these, shows now, like playing music from your era of Kiss with your band, and it's like December 30th. You're gonna probably, you're finally gonna get a chance to play a show. I guess you could say on land, in an actual venue at
Yep.
Vamped there in Las Vegas, and Vamped, I haven't been there, but everything I've heard about the place, it seems like a good professional place to play, good sound system, good stage. Like it seems like the right place for you guys to do this.
I agree. And, obviously Vegas does have other venues, but I just always knew that as being a great rock room. And when I ran it by quite a few business people I knew in Vegas too, and a lot of them thought it was the right thing. I'm not a national act. I haven't, put out, I haven't been on tour before in the States. So a place like Vamped is the right place. And it's funny that I met Todd. Well, I wouldn't say I met him there, but we performed together
Yeah.
there in the Sinners, and the same thing with Zach Throne years ago. So I had experience there, and I always thought that I think it was even Vince Neil's place one of the times when I was there. But now it belongs to Danny Coker from Counting Cars,
Yep.
and his wife manages it, and it's all good family people, and everybody, everyone really speaks highly of the room. Eddie Trunk and I were talking about it this week, and it's off strip too, so you don't have to deal with the wildness of the strip.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be a really good. Everyone's going to have a good time.
So the shows that you've done on the cruise prior to this, like, one of the things about the shows that you've done is like they've been like a really widespread of things, like song wise, as far as the material you're drawing on, there's like, a good number of the hits. There's also deep stuff. And I know that like from you and I kind of talking prior to this interview, like you kind of wanted to take a little bit of a different approach with the set list that you were putting together for this show. So how did you kind of approach that? Like, putting together what you felt like was going to be the right kind of, set list to lay out for people at this show in Vegas.
I mean, to be honest, this show would be more like what I would do if I was traveling international, like a hybrid of Alive 3 meets my other era songs that really do represent me very well.
Mm-hmm.
The cruises represent a very, very diehard fan base that I wouldn't want to cover songs that I wanted to go where no Kiss member has gone before, basically.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I was accomplishing. And that's the right place for that. Now, with Brent, Todd, and Zach, I can delve into anything. But I always was telling everybody, look, we've gone like really intense, like the big long medleys that I did on the last one for my brother, which was time appropriate and meant a lot for me to do that. Because it was the first time I was out there performing since the pandemic, and he passed away in May of 2020. So that was the right thing to do. But I could pull out a song from that, but I wouldn't do a 25-minute medley for my brother at that gig. It's not necessary, not appropriate. On a cruise, when you got two shows, and most of the fans are going to see both shows, you got plenty of time to fool around with the material and really expand on what you want to do. Same thing for Eric Carr. We did an Eric Carr medley, which had some songs never really played live, even by me before, no less Eric or anybody, from Rockology, the record that came out in many different forms through the years. And that was well received, but again, not necessarily appropriate for my show. So it's been a balance of what I think is like my key important songs. We do have a couple of surprises in the set. I don't want to make it sound like it's just going to be every, maybe hit or well-known song from my era.
Sure.
But in general, it isn't really created to be similar to those cruise sets, which gives me really two 75-minute sets. And I have the desire to pull out things that are very unusual and do more medleys there, So it's going to be a little different.
Yeah, first of all, I don't think that, even this Vamp show, I don't think that anybody that knows you, Bruce, like, I don't think anybody expects that you would just come and just play like a standard regular set. Like, you are always, I think what fans like about what you do is like, you're always one of those people that's, thinking in some fashion, you're thinking, how can I make this kind of special and fun for the fans? Like, that's always part of it. So it's like, any way you slice it, I think this is going to be a show to look forward to. You mentioned the medleys. And one of the things you did on the Kiss cruise was an Asylum medley. And, you know, looking at like those songs like Secretly Cruel, All Night, and Trial by Fire, when you talk about the medleys, like it just seems like from your perspective, it would be kind of fun to put those together and, you know, take those songs and figure out like, you know, how can I make these, you know, work together? It's fun when you start putting those together like song Legos in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, I realized with all the material from my era that I could, you know, represent and play with and with these guys, like I could do about anything, you know, really.
Yeah.
In some ways, I'm the one that like I'd rather not play that solo because I can't play like that, right? You know,
Yeah.
at my age. But then again, I could take half of that song and then go into another song, and then they got enough flavor, and I'm touching upon a song that, you know, my fans certainly love, the Kiss fans love, and haven't heard live. So I do like that. I mean, we'll probably, I know I've done it before where we would do Crazy Nights and then I would go into Turn On the Night, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it looks like that might happen at Vamp because it makes sense. We don't have to do the last chorus of Crazy Nights, just bring it up a notch and then kill it with Turn On the Night, which was never played live by Kiss. We did a video, you know, but we never performed it. So there's always great ways to deal with this material. I'm so relieved that I'll be honest. Some of this medley idea I got from the Rat Pack. I listened to Sinatra. I listened to those artists, and I remember them doing whenever they would do these TV things, or sometimes when the Rat Pack actually was together. Sometimes it was just Frank and Sammy or Frank and Dean, and then the three of them. And then they go through a repertoire of songs in 12 minutes, and they put in, like 10 songs, and it was great. I don't just do that short amounts. Sometimes a little bit, like Car Jam. I'm not going to have Brent do the Eric Carr solo. So we do the whole intro and then we go into something else, you know?
Yeah.
And that's cool. So I love being creative with this stuff. But there's nothing wrong. Like you were giving it a name, you know, putting two together. And I like when my band does that. I find it works and everybody enjoys it.
So as much time as you've kind of spent with the material from your era, you know, putting together sets for, you know, some of the cruises in recent years and otherwise, what is kind of an underrated favorite in your opinion from your years with Kiss?
An underrated song, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one of the guys, and I think we might revisit it again. I didn't realize that Hella High Water was more popular than it was back when we put it out in Crazy Nights, you know, and I love it because I wrote it and, with Gene, and I don't think we played it. Maybe we tried it once. Okay. Yeah. I always was, these guys they were always like, if it didn't get the big reaction, how could it get a big reaction when they barely knew the record? You see what I mean?
Sure.
So then you move on to something else, you know, is always what would happen. So that's one that definitely comes to mind, you know. But you know, to me, it's always hard for me to know exactly what is like the you know, their sleeper song, shall I say, you know, that they enjoy. But I get a kick out of all the material.
I also wondered, like, was there a song that you really like kind of stumped for the band to play when you were in Kiss that you guys didn't get to play that you still haven't gotten to play with this band? Like, is there stuff that's still on the shelf that you want to play that you haven't touched yet?
Yes, we were talking about it just recently, but we're not going to do it at Vamp. But it's more appropriate on a cruise. I joined the band in '84. My set list with them was largely, there was Lick It Up stuff there too, you know, and Animalize Live, which I have to claim as part of my era because I performed it, has a couple of those songs like Fits Like a Glove. And there was another fast song there that was kind of cool that we should try or we should fool around with. And I know we've always talked about it, but we've never gotten to those yet. I mean, we really stretched it out here. Here we're doing a song from Psycho Circus on the cruise, Dreaming, but I co-wrote it. Exciter, they brought to me. They said, let's do Exciter. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's from Lick It Up. I don't even know who played lead guitar on it. It wasn't Vinny. It might be Rick Derringer or something. But what, you know, like why? And then I listened to the song and I got it. That's a great opener. You know what I mean? It was very exciting, and the band hadn't done it since the Lick It Up tour. So it went over really well. I love when the guys also challenge me. And sometimes I'm challenging them. Oh, we got to do this, whatever that is. So, there's always fun, exploring these songs. And rarely, even if I'll have a reason sometimes I don't want to do something. And it might be just like, I don't really love this song, or it doesn't really, or it's too similar to this anyway, so why bother? But you think about all the songs I've covered in those cruises, it's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, it
Really
really
crazy.
is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I wanted to hit on some songs that we've kind of been tossing around that are just kind of some favorites of ours from your years with the band. And,
Right.
first one I was going to throw your way was from the Asylum record, Love is a Deadly Weapon. Just kind of wanted to get your, thoughts and memories on that one.
Great song, very fast. And lately it's come up a few times only because I love that Chris Jericho is doing Quarantine with the K. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And he's covering my era, and I'm very flattered by it. He's got a killer band, and Joe McGinnis, I know quite well, who's more a country, and he can play my style guitar playing, which is crazy because he plays country like a motherfucker. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just I know that they actually did cut that. I don't know if it came out yet, but they cut that one, and my comment to Joe was better you than me. You know what I mean? Because
Yep.
the lead playing was crazy on it. And he did a good job imitating. I remember when I played it, he shared the track. I played it for Lisa, and I go like, okay, I get what he did here. Now I understand even what I did a little bit. He didn't get it all right, but he was interpreting me in a really well fashion. And what can I say? But it's not a song. I mean, some of that fast stuff from Asylum, especially, is really challenging. So, but that is a great track, and I'm so happy that those guys are covering it.
Yeah, and I think you kind of alluded to this, but the guitar solo on that one is just brutally awesome. And my writer comrade here at UCR, Brian, highlighted that particular aspect of the song.
Yeah.
Like, what do you recall as far as coming up with that solo, or just, that solo, anything about it in general?
We were recording at Electric Lady. Now I'm officially the lead guitar player in the band. Okay. I would work with Gene. I would work with Paul. When I worked with Gene, now you're in the studio and you can make a lot of things work that you can't do in reality or live, because you play and then you can punch in and you can combine tracks, you know what I mean? Go. And
Yeah.
then, and then flip over to the other channel. And, they were doing that a lot. So there were times I was like, all right, I don't mind you, flipping the channel there, but that's not very realistic what you just chose. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And at times when I was listening, I mostly was okay with what was the final solo, comped as they call it. But when I look back now, I go like, that was crazy. You know what I mean? But I think they were trying to make me as wild and, like George Lynch used to be called Mr. Scary, because he is a scary guitar player. He has a tremendous ability, speed and tone and action and technique. So that's what they were doing. They were making my solos kind of off the map. You know what I mean? And that's you go to 86 to 2021, a lot of years there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that is always something I look back at and tell a young gun like Joe, better you than me.
Well, the other one that Brian called out from the Asylum record, he just wrote to me. He was just like King of the Mountain all day.
Yep. Now there's a video where I'm showing how I did those riffs and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching it not that long ago with Lisa during the pandemic, and I was just like, oh wow, that's cool. Okay, so that's how I did that riff. Let me try that. And then I did it a few times. Now those riffs are like nothing like I play with Grand Funk for the past 20 years. Nothing that I do with anybody really, right? So I was just like, all of a sudden I was like, ow, my hand doesn't feel that good. I mean, it's just muscle memory. That's what I was doing then. So it wasn't that hard. But then when you get away from that kind of finger tapping wild, I was interpreting Eddie Van Halen the best I could. He was the king of that. But I was able to incorporate some things, and I haven't been using those techniques for the past years. So I was pretty impressed. I watched the 1988 Crazy Nights guitar solo live at Budokan that we found on YouTube. And I'm literally looking at the screen going like, go Bruce, oh my God. And Lisa was like, couldn't believe what she was watching. And I'm going like, this is great. I love watching it. And God, I don't even know how I did it. You know what I mean? Because there was like furious playing, but you know, I'm in my prime. You know, it's guitar playing is a bit athletic. I mean, I think everybody knows that, but I think I'm interpreting and hanging in there. I'm not playing like, you know, I'm still playing well, but you know, I'd be kidding anyone to say that I could play as well as I did back in the 80s, you know, in the sense of speed and flash. That's all.
You mentioned Eddie Van Halen, like as a guitar player in that era, like what was it, you know, like obviously the words you said, like you tried to kind of get inside of that style, inside that vein a little bit. Like what was it like as a guitar player trying to like figure out what that guy was doing?
You know, he had certain speed. I always like described him, since I knew that he loved Eric Clapton, which is a guy with a lot of passion and vibrato and emotion in his playing. And Clapton could play fast. But what Eddie did, he was like the GTO, you know, supercharged muscle car version of that. And that's what he represented, both even the way he performed, but of course how he performed on the guitar. So his right hand technique was incredibly dexterous, and he was so fluid. But I think he really connected with people because he did, even if he's playing fast, he made every note count. He made every note have this passion. And that's why I think he was absolutely and will always be respected as that biggest guitar hero of that style, taking, you know, guitar to another level. And people like Clapton and Hendrix were preceding.
So next song we're going to go to here is from the Revenge record, and that would be Tough Love. What are kind of your memories and thoughts on that one?
Well, I was very grateful for Tough Love because I had this riff, which is the verse riff that starts off the song. It's the intro and the verses that I presented to Paul and to Bob Ezrin, who I really enjoyed working with. And they liked it, and we started working on it. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, I was always aware of the incredible songs and records that Ezrin was able to produce with Kiss. So for me to actually sit in a room and co-write a song and come initially from a riff that I created was quite a thrill. So I was really proud of that. But the only funny thing about the song, I think it was that one. We might have had to keep moving around the key and playing the riff in a different way. I could be confusing that with Heart of Chrome, but if it was Tough Love, obviously Ezrin could always rely on me to transpose and figure out how to make it work. And then you know, because if the vocalist can't like be comfortable with that arrangement that you make, you don't have a song. You know what I mean? It's not going to be done. So I do know that Tough Love was one of those. To me, that and Heart of Chrome had a kind of symmetry to it, and I'm just real proud of the fact that I think it was track 3 on the record. That always felt great too.
Revenge is an interesting record because, as you mentioned, like Ezrin's involved, but like sound wise, like things also go in kind of a grittier, like dirtier, like direction. Like
Yes.
it's things toughen up. Like where was that coming from at the time?
I know it was their intention to make a real big sounding record, and Ezrin was very clear with the guys that they wanted me to play with my balls, and I don't mean physically sit there and just dwiddle my balls,
right,
but just be very powerful and the intention of the guitars to kind of rip your face off and everything. And I think I certainly you know, made that happen on that record. So it's an album that I'm extremely proud of.
What's the thing that you enjoyed the most about working with Ezrin?
Well, I got to watch a lot of his techniques as how he works with people, how he was very, very confident in the studio. You know, he's not a guy that you hire as an engineer, but he does know how to engineer, and he does know how to create certain effects and sounds. I mean, look at The Wall, look at Peter Gabriel, you know. So, and even look at the Destroyer in some ways. You know, he has a vision. He's a really a mad scientist and a fantastic arranger and composer, and he can play piano. He can orchestrate. I was watching every move, okay, with him, and I'm so blessed because I'll absorb it. I'm a sponge around people that have talent and ability. absorb it.
Yeah, he just like seems like a guy that's dedicated to the cause. Like unlike some guys that like do a record for the check or whatever. It's like obviously
Yep.
like he had a relationship there with the Kiss guys in the same way that like in more recent years like he's had an ongoing thing with Deep Purple. Like he's one of those guys that like
Right.
likes to really get inside the organization and really become a part of
Yes.
in this case. Bob's thing is like, I want to make Kiss be the best Kiss that they can be right now. So it's like, you
Yeah.
really respect somebody like that. That's not just, walking in the door for that album. Like he is looking like, what are my possibilities here long range to like really take this band on a ride?
I know. And that's, I had an expression for, how I think he approached it. And the title was great. I love Revenge, but
Yeah.
it was a no compromise record. It had to be done with excellence, and they didn't compromise on things. And artists always have to ultimately abandon their record because they could twiddle with it forever. Just like a guy writes a book. Just the ending isn't right, or I need to pump this. You know what I'm saying? And
Sure.
and you can drive yourself insane. But I really feel like we were there, and there was only one more song that we had in the can that almost got done and it didn't. That's "Do You Want to Touch Me Now?" And it was fully recorded without any vocals. And I really wish that they would do something with that. It's kind of funny. Eric and I always talk about it because it's a great track.
Yeah. Yeah. So going to the Hot in the Shade record, one of the ones that Matthew Wilkening, our editor at UCR, called out was Little Caesar.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Little Caesar was a long journey. Eric wrote it in a few different ways. It wasn't called Little Caesar at first. It was kind of like Ain't That Peculiar. It was actually it was slower. I have all the demos, but him and I would like flesh out a lot of stuff because we had that great relationship from working on his Rockheads, the cartoon idea,
Yeah.
and then we wrote other songs. But to get it on the Kiss album, obviously it took a level of like, well, it's going to have to really fit the Kiss thing. At first, it was more slinky and too Aerosmithy and a little too mid-tempo. And then he got involved with Adam Mitchell and Gene. And then we picked up the tempo. He got the better lyrics. In other words, writing a song about, or like that could be like a nickname for him. Hey, Little Caesar. I did some video about that song, and I know during COVID I got real busy with things. And I did something interesting with that. But I do think that considering it didn't have a big stamp of Gene and Paul, it really fit well with the Kiss thing. And I was so happy for Eric to have his own song, obviously on a record.
Something that doesn't necessarily stick out to me when I listen to Hot in the Shade, but just like looking at it on paper, it's a long record. It's like, 14, 15 songs, whatever it is.
Yes.
So as you guys are making that record, like, did that translate to like, how long was the actual process? Was it a long record to make?
Not really, because a lot of it was because everybody was working on demos and using that studio. And then instead of taking it elsewhere, we decided to just finish it in that, what I would call more, at least at the time, a demo studio with this guy, Pat Regan.
Yeah.
Really nice guy, good engineer, loved Kiss. Everybody got along with him. And I think it has 15 songs because number one, back then everything was done to a CD anyway.
Sure.
All right, it's 1989, and you can put that much material on it. But I also think Gene and Paul weren't gonna like. They usually do. Like if there's a producer, they'll pick maybe their favorite 11 or 12, and that's it. But I think because the two of them were doing it, it was like, well, all right, let's just put 15 on then. You didn't have to compromise. You know what I mean? You didn't have to let one sit there. But in the same, and I didn't want you to think that it's all about them counting numbers. It was Gene that said, what about Hide Your Heart? Everybody else covered it. That, we got to do that song. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And it became a real important song for Hot in the Shade. So it has a lot of songs. And I was just joking with one of my friends because they gifted me the blue vinyl. I don't know how you put 15 songs on a freaking single vinyl. You know what I mean? But anyway, it looks beautiful in blue. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
I haven't listened to it yet. I'm afraid.
Yeah, knowing like, the limitations of vinyl back in the day, you're right.
Yeah.
When you see something with that many songs on it, now it's like, you're like, uh-oh.
It should be a double record. It should have
Yeah.
been a double record, but
Yeah.
they didn't do it that way. Yeah.
That's funny. And then the other one that he mentioned was from the Crazy Nights record, and that was No, No, No.
Yep. Now, No, No, No was another really fun thing that Eric obviously loved, double bass drum,
Hmm.
Alex Van Halen. And I was like, again, a student of Eddie, you know what I mean, trying to like emulate and use techniques that I learned from him to be creative. So we had the intro, and I remember Eric and I worked on it. We brought it to Gene. Gene started that idea. No, 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 and I actually, you know, I was in many ways it was a bit of a tip of the hat to a Van Halen thing with a Gene guy as the singer and lyricist. And I was actually I don't think Paul really loved it, but we used to do it a lot. And he'd prance around on stage playing it. But I'm just saying, but it didn't turn out to be a bad song, and we used it live through those festivals. I used to do a guitar solo on Crazy Nights, and then I'd come out and start No, 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 and we'd go into it after Eric's drum, like a drum thing with me, So it was an important song. Now the very, very intro wasn't done like for the demo. I think that might have been Nevison saying like, "Why don't you just step out there, Bruce, and play, and just go for it." And I could see myself in the studio with my yellow banana guitar. That ESP always really had a screaming, wonderful tone, and just like flashing off some riffs. And then Eric, of course, joins me at the very end with a little bit of drums, and then we kick right into this big double bass drum song. So cool song. I wouldn't be surprised if other people cover it eventually. Kind of cool.
What was your experience working with Nevison? Like, how tough was he with you?
And that's a funny question because I mean, subsequently we've always like said hi and we're very fond to see each other. But at the time, he was on me a lot that I didn't understand. I remember Paul saw it. Paul knows that I'm a good co-worker and team player. But I remember there was one solo that we were working on, and I wanted him to switch tracks at a certain point because I just knew it would fit and it would be the best of me without being unrealistic. Okay, like Asylum.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I tell him, I go like, switch over there. You know what I mean? Whatever it was, right after that note. And he didn't understand me. So he got like really like, a producer who's also an engineer doesn't usually say, then, you do it. You know what I mean? I was like, oh shit, what did I just walk into? When people challenge each other that way, I knew how to anticipate on the Studer machine and hit the button at the right time. So of course I do it, nailed it the first time. And then he says, why didn't you tell me that the first time? You know what I'm saying? Of course, So, but I know Paul was there and he was watching this whole thing. And I was just like kind of rolling my eyes. Oh my God, I guess, whatever, and anyway, Paul just said to me, he really thinks a lot of you. Do not take this the wrong way. And it was kind of funny because all of a sudden after that album, Paul and Gene were more generous with my yearly salary. And I think Nevison really vetted me in many ways. Okay. So it was kind of funny that he gave me a hard time in a way. And in another way, I think he was a big supporter and very respectful of my playing.
Well, you mentioned Hide Your Heart. I want to go back to that because just like that one seems like it would have been just a fun one to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I was always impressed that Kiss occasionally did it in makeup too, but it's a good song. I mean, there's good guitar playing. I mean, funny thing is, I like when Evan was young, Paul's son, who's such a great guitar player. He actually, Paul had him on the phone. He was a teenager. Hey, Bruce, show, can you like just play like some of the riffs of Hide Your Heart? He's trying to figure it out. I want to make sure he's got it right. So it's just a popular song, and I'm really glad that I have had him. Any Kiss song that's popular, that's got my stamp of guitar playing and vibe on it, I'm obviously thrilled about.
It's interesting because, as you probably know, there's this split sometimes with fans between like 70s Kiss and 80s Kiss, and occasionally like some negativity towards 80s Kiss. But like I've always been impressed, like with the 80s stuff, like no different. I mean, they certainly did plenty of this in the 70s, but it seems like when they got into a decade where this was really important, they were really good at writing like songs with a really good hook, whether it was, Hide Your Heart or, even stuff like, Reason to Live, obviously
Yep.
Forever, crazy, crazy
Yeah.
nights. Like they could turn that stuff out seemingly all day, and it's just like, and so to me, as somebody that grew up in the '80s, like that's stuff that I still really enjoy hearing.
Well, thank you. And honestly, I'm feeling so much of a very, very strong renaissance of my era and people wanting to hear the Kiss fans being really hungry for the 80s and 90s Kiss. And it's just, I'm like, very, very pleased. I'm very flattered by it. So, and Gene and Paul always, it didn't matter, even if they were distracted or disenchanted with they can't quite get back that huge fame at the height of the makeup during my era. They never like sloughed off. They always wanted to create the best stuff they could. If they were not in a very creative mood, they knew to work with some people that could spark it for them. So these guys were always, always very, very. It isn't like luck that they're so successful and have made so much money and have become so famous. It's not luck, it's talent.
So Todd, obviously Todd Dammit Kearns, like who you've got in this band and who's been in your band for a while, like, he's one of those guys that what I like really respect about Todd is not only is he a mother of a singer, but he's also just a straight up music fan and student of the music that like he's, covering or sings or whatever. Like he really knows his music history. So like on the one hand, like when you first encountered Todd, like you must have been pretty excited going, this is a guy I could do some stuff with. But then as you start working with Todd, like it had to be pretty impressive learning, like, just like how much he's invested in all of this.
Absolutely. I cannot say kinder things about anybody in the industry than Todd Kearns. He works hard. He's super talented. He's funny. He's I call him Captain Kearns. Sometimes we love Star Trek and we goof around. And he takes it really seriously. And then again, he's just a sweet man. Todd is just in many ways, I know he's just a bass player in Slash, but I see him as a star, period. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I just think he's a tremendous singer, and he can play bass or guitar really well, and he knows his music, and he's a wonderful guy. Besides that, so I think the Kiss fans really do click with him. I know Eric Singer's a big fan, and Gene and Paul are very well aware at his abilities to do the things that, like Paul would say, better you than me. Thanks for singing those songs. Because like, it's really, really, it just shows a tremendous amount of skill to be able to sing forever. Okay, so I'm very proud of Todd. It's a pleasure working with him.
Yeah, and I mean, he seems. I think what I was, partially trying to like verbalize was he seems like a guy that like, you work up these songs. Like he's one of those guys that he's going to know the important aspects. That like if you guys are running through it and there's like a piece of it that's not there, he's going to be the one that's going to stop and go. You know what? Like we've got all this, but it's missing this one part. Like we got to stick that in.
He's definitely aware of those things, but I'm way more picky even than him.
Oh, nice.
Because just yesterday I was asking him about one song that we're going to do. I go, you got the bridge chords? Because I know they were a bit of a challenge for me. So today while I've been traveling, he was sharing some little videos of like, yeah, I think it's this. Is that right? And I go like, you got it 90% right. This is the last to the chord before the last chord is actually this. You know what I mean? And he was like, oh yeah, right on. But I love his ability. I learned some things from him. I go like, oh yeah, I think that is the riff. So he is very, very meticulous with how he can hear and work on the material, which is wonderful. But everyone, the other thing, I got to give Zach Throne a lot of credit for those vocals and his ability to sing so well. And he's a tremendous bass player. And then again, he's a tremendous guitar player. He was just touring with Corey Taylor from Slipknot, and he's playing guitar. Okay, so these guys are nuts. How they all do these gigs on different instruments, and they're just solid, talented people.
I know that like you all have done a lot of work on new music of some sort. Like, what's the plan for that stuff?
Yeah, so last spring we went in. I had no idea when things would open or not open, and my goal was like, well, maybe we could have an EP for the cruise if we get going now. And then all of a sudden, everything opened up, crazy, right? So we recorded a new song and one other song that's actually it's a cover, but I'm not saying what it is.
Sure.
And then I realized, oh my God, Grand Funk got so busy. We're doing 30 gigs in a half a year, and we usually only do like 40 in an entire year. Do the
Yeah.
math.
Yeah.
It's been nuts. So those guys, not only their own like gigs that started to open up, but then they start filling in for the people that went down with COVID. You know, hey, can you play guitar for this week? You know, can you play bass? Can you fill in? Brent, can you come out here and help us with the Guess Who? So like there was just no way for us to be able to do it and prepare for the cruise, because you know what kind of work goes into those sets. So I do think, and I have no idea how to manage yet what will come in 2022, but my goal is to logically, you know, manage it all and try to do what I can. You know, we've already gotten offers to do certain gigs. I know they're going to get busy with Slash, but not all year. I'll have Grand Funk dates, but there's breaks in that too. So I got to just see, but I'd love to go in the studio because that's an easier thing, to be honest. You find a couple of days in the month, you get in there, maybe 2 or 3 days in 1 month that everyone's in town, you get in there and you do the job, you know. So I hope to get some music done in 2022 with these guys. I've been promising it for quite a while now.
So, and also you do think it's possible then to, you know, perhaps line up some dates with these guys outside of Vegas?
Yeah, it's all going to come down to schedule and logistics and to see if it's possible. But I don't mind the fact that if people just know us from the cruise and then an occasional date, but we knock your socks off, I'm happy with that too. I can't, you know, I don't know. I just know that we have to figure out the logistics of it before we can commit to anything.
Well, here's the final bit. And I know the two Union records either came out on vinyl or they're coming out on vinyl. So I just kind of wondered, like, I know that when you and I have talked in the past, like there's been various things that are kind of in the works potential as far as like, you know, reissues or otherwise. Like,
right.
Is there anything kind of in the pipeline? Like I was looking, for example, like that live DVD that you guys put out years ago, Do Your Own Thing Live. Like that's way out of print, you know? So, I wondered like what there is legacy wise or otherwise, union wise, that, you know, folks can maybe look forward to.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the vinyl has not come out yet.
That's what I was thinking.
There was a lot of, you know, like kind of negotiating and progress made last year, or earlier this year, actually. I'm sorry.
Sure.
But vinyl factories are like crazy.
So backed up.
That it will come out in 2022, but possibly in the third quarter, because I think it's going to take like 8 to 10 months. And I think they just got started to be in the queue. Okay. I know that Brent, Todd, and Jamie, John and Jamie and I are going to sign like these promotional flats kind of that would go with the deluxe package.
Oh,
and
cool.
That was like actually happening kind of now. So I know it's a reality, but I also know I was told it's going to take like 8 to 10 months to have the product. So now the other item you mentioned is something that I have talked about. I could probably do something with, which is Do Your Own Thing Live. Mm-hmm. And there isn't a lot of bonus other material of Union. I know because when the vinyl thing came up, of course, I got serious into like looking at the archives and really digging in and see what's possible. But I do know that is being out of print and going for stupid money on it, if you can find it, you know. I might be able to do like I even have some CD, you know, another concert that the audio could be used for, if you follow what I mean.
Yeah.
So
nice.
I could do possibly a way of putting out something. But I business-wise, I want to be fair and not do that before the vinyl. You know, I mean, so that's why we're talking more like the end of next year, you know, before I would even put that together, because I got to give that a shot. Initially, when I thought that this was coming out much sooner, I was going to get on it, but I don't need to yet. And I still want to release my 2 other solo records on vinyl. I did BK3 very successfully, but I want to put Audio Dog and Transformer on vinyl.
Yeah.
So, and I have plans to do that. I need to like double myself, because it's like I'm very ambitious, but I can only do so much. And I've even joked, even if I had like some massive team that I could hire to work for me, I'm such a control freak and I'd have to know everything and be in charge of it anyway, that I'm not so sure I would get that much more out or that much more done. But I'm not, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about it. It's kind of really always exciting. All the opportunities that have come in the past couple of years has been really incredible. I'm very grateful for it, but at times it's overwhelming. I mean,
Yeah.
here we are, it's the holiday season. I got a lot of gigs with Grand Funk this month. I got, I offer merchandise on the website, the Eric Carr thing. I put out that video. When I get back home from this trip, my wife and we don't do it enough because we don't have time, but we're going to do every year. We do a Christmas song. We got it picked out. But, now because I know how to make videos better, I want to make a more, elaborate version of the song, you know what I mean, to share,
Yeah.
not just us sitting there. So I'm all excited about it, but this is what gets me up at like 5 and 6 in the morning. I promise you that, because I just have all these creative, ambitious, kind of drive to do things.
So along those lines, closing things out, what are you kind of excited about for 2022?
Well, obviously, and let's all hope, of course, everything
Stays intact.
Yeah, stays intact. Every time you turn on the news and you got a new variant, you got this, and et cetera, et cetera. Well, I love the fact that, Grand Funk already has a pretty good schedule. So there's like that kind of like structure for me,
Yeah.
where I know where I'm going to be. This talks about, certain autograph shows that were really kind of difficult during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That I think I would do better at than I've ever done. Obviously recording with the, cruise band and looking at dates with them. I do want to do more work with, interesting videos and sharing more, kind of anniversaries. I'd like to do some more work with my wife. So there's a lot of things. There's also, and it's kind of boring to talk about merchandise products, but I have fun with being creative with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally do have a really cool bobblehead at home, and it just came, but I could not offer it in time for Christmas. So that would come out sometime in like maybe January, February, or for Valentine's, because you can have your own little Bruce Kulick bobbling around in your room. It's
That's
pretty
fantastic.
fun. Yeah, but stuff like that. So, really, there's just so many interesting things that could come up. I'm always fascinated with, what people bring to my attention and,
Mm-hmm.
and what they want me to be involved with. So let's see, and I know Kiss is still they got at least another year of touring with them. I'm always really curious once that winds down what Eric Singer will do, because we always enjoyed working together. We did that song Heaven during COVID, that for the David Z Foundation that people really loved, So I'm very excited about all the, I also do a lot of these online auctions through Kiss Live Auctions, which is a lot of fun. And these Kiss fans just love getting signed items, personal items, and there's never a dull moment. That's all I could say. It's always something going on,
Well, cool, man. Appreciate you always taking the time to talk to us, and we'll let you run on, but this is always a lot of fun, man.
All right. Well, thank you, sir.